Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live session for parents. My name is Claudia Ali. I am a parent outreach coordinator with the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, or ISAC. Um, Thank you so much for being here. I know it's a little late for some parents. My eyes are super tired, but I'm here trying to provide more information regarding this important topic. But before I begin with today's session, I want to let you know that this and other sessions are shared on our YouTube page. For questions you may have today, you can use the Q&A feature at the bottom right-hand side of your screen, and someone from our agency who is also connected will help me answer those questions throughout the session. And then I will also try to answer as many as I can. Um, if for any reason your questions are not answered today, or for further questions you may have later, I want to encourage you to use our ISAC College Q&A, which is a free text messaging service where you or your student can send us your questions. This is a completely free service that is available for you to use. So this session is similar to the one I hosted 3 weeks ago. We know we're all concerned about the changes in the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. So the famous FAFSA form that we're all waiting for. So we decided, or we thought that it was important to provide a second session for you all. So for those who have not heard about ISAC, so the Illinois Student Assistance Commission, or ISAC, is a college access and financial aid agency in the state of Illinois that administers programs such as grants and scholarships to help pay for college. And our mission is to provide Illinois students with information and assistance to help make education beyond high school accessible and affordable. Again, my name is Claudia. I am a parent outreach coordinator, and I have been with the ISAC for almost 4 years. Actually, this December is going to be my 4th year. My job is to help parents throughout the state understand the college planning, admissions, and financing process. I was born and raised in Mexico, and I came here to the U.S. when I was 18 years old. My parents were not involved in my education at all because of the language barrier. Um, and really navigating the education system on my own was very challenging. So I really want to thank you for taking your time, for being here and support your students. I also have a child who's a senior high school student. And even though he reminds me often that he's turning 18 years old soon, and that he will not need me because he's going to college, hopefully, he will still need me, right? And one way we can support our students is by helping them complete their financial aid application. But what is financial aid, right? So a lot of us have that question. And we would like to know the definition. So that's going to be the beginning for the session. Financial aid is money that the student may be eligible to receive in the form of grants, scholarship, loans, or work study. And these funds are intended to help the student pay for college. This is just a simple definition. To apply for this financial aid, all senior high school and college students complete the free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, or the alternative application for qualified undocumented students to apply for state financial aid. This is done every year. This is not a one-time application. Every year, the student would have to be applying for financial aid. So for today's session, I will talk about the FAFSA only, since that's the application that is getting changed. So just to fill this application out, your student could get access to federal and state aid, such as grants, work study, and loans, like I mentioned before. And some institutions also use the FAFSA to distribute their own grants and scholarships. So to get ready for when the application is available, the student will need their social security number, their alien registration number if the student is an eligible non-citizen, and for dependent students, the parents' 2022 federal income tax return will also be needed. So now I'm going to move on to some of the updates on what has been released regarding the changes in the application. One of the things that will be different from previous years is that the FAFSA was not available on October 1st. For those who don't know, every year senior high school and college students can start their application as early as October 1st, and that will continue to be the date for next year and the following years. But this year, the application is expected to be released in late December. No specific date has been shared with us yet, but hopefully we can get that information soon and share with you all. One of the other things to get ready for when the application is available is to create an account that is known as the Federal Student Aid or FSA ID. If you're not familiar with the FSA ID, this is just an account where a username and password will be needed. These FSA ID allows the student and parents to access and electronically sign the FAFSA form. In other words, this is your electronic signature. So who needs to create this FSA ID? The student will need an FSA ID, and only one parent will need an FSA ID as long as they're married and filing taxes together. If the parents are married but filing taxes separately, or unmarried but living together, then both of the parents will each need their own FSA ID. The FSA ID is used every year to access and sign the application. So if this will be your first time that your child and yourself will complete the FAFSA, save this information in a secure and accessible place because it will be needed again. Even if you need to edit something in the application, you made a mistake and you want to go back and fix it, you will need your FSA ID. So this is a very important piece of information that you will need. Now, for those parents who had already created an FSA ID for another child who is in college already, there is no need to create a new one. The same one can be used. The process for creating the FSA ID is pretty much the same as previous years, but Federal Student Aid is recommending to create one before the FAFSA becomes available. In previous years, a student was able to create their FSA ID right before starting the FAFSA, but like I mentioned, FSA is encouraging to do it a couple of days in advance. Because it can take up to 3 days to get verified with the Social Security. Talk to your students because some schools are already providing workshops to help students and families create their own FSA ID. So if you are a Social Security holder, you can start with that process. So when the application is available, you have your FSA ID ready. The one thing that is new regarding the FSA ID for this year is that parents who do not have a Social Security number will now be required to create an FSA ID. So previously, parents without a Social Security number were unable to do so, but now it will be required for them as well. Unfortunately, we still don't know what the process is going to look like for these parents, but the process will be shared before the FAFSA gets released. Now, for what's going to be your role as a parent when completing the FAFSA? For the purposes of the FAFSA, a student is dependent until the age of 24, and they will need their parents' information. If the student is married before the age of 24, then they will be considered independent and your information will not be needed. But in this case, the spouse's information will be required for the FAFSA to be completed. This has not changed, but previously a dependent student completing the FAFSA would log in and complete all the sections. At the end, both the student and the parent would sign the FAFSA, but now students and parents will each have a section to complete. So the student can only complete the student section, and then the parent can only complete the parent section. And the way that this is going to happen after the student completes, their section and provide your information. like your email, your name. The parents will receive an email letting you know that you need to help your child complete the form. So there will be a login button when you open up your email, where you must provide your username and password, which is the same thing as the FSA ID. You would accept the invitation, and then you will be able to start your portion of the FAFSA. I want to emphasize that for these dependent students, if the parental section is not completed, they will not be able to submit the application. For the last couple of minutes, I have been talking about how dependent students will need their parents' information. And for financial aid purposes, students can only include their biological parents' information, adopted parents' information, or the step parents' information. Sometimes, instead of entering their parents' information, students will provide their older siblings or grandmas or any other relative. Because they might not be living with their parents. But if these family members are not the student's adoptive parents, then their information will not be needed. Only biological, adoptive, or step parents' information should be included in the FAFSA. So what happens if both parents are married but are not married, excuse me, but living together? The information for both parents should be reported when completing the FAFSA. So this is still the same. This has not changed. However, if parents are divorced or separated, the student will have to report the parent who provides the most financial support to the student. For those who completed the FAFSA in previous years, you might remember that it was reported who the student lived with the most for the last 12 months. But like I mentioned, for this year, it will be the person who provides the most financial support. Now, for reporting the student's financial income is another requirement to complete the financial aid application. And for that, students and parents are now required to provide consent so that the federal student aid can obtain this information directly from the Internal Revenue Services or the IRS. So at the beginning of the application, every person or everyone, the student and the parent, must provide authorization for their tax information to be shared by the IRS with federal student aid. And this includes non-tax filers, right? So which means that if a parent is not required to file taxes because the income is below the minimum amount to file taxes, the IRS will report that there is no tax return on file. And then the student can continue with the application. I know this process is going to be a little, challenging for some students because some parents do not file their taxes, even though they are supposed to. But if consent is not provided, the students will not be eligible for federal financial aid, even if the students may qualify for it. So please, if you haven't filed your 2022 taxes, get them done because you will definitely need them to complete the FAFSA. Like I mentioned, this session is very similar to the one hosted a couple of weeks ago. I am done with what I had planned to share with you to allow extra time for questions. Like I mentioned, someone else is helping answer those questions, but I am going to take a look and see if there are more questions to be answered. So what if parents are divorced? Do both need an ID? So if they're divorced or separated, both of them will need to have their own, if the parents are divorced and or separated, only one will need the FSA ID. And the information that should be shared would be the parent who provides the most financial support to the student. The other question, can parents without a social security number create an FSA ID? The process has not been shared yet, so we would have to wait until that process is shared with us. Once we know, we will share with you via text message. If you sign up for the number for text messages, which I will be sharing in a couple of seconds. The schools will also notify the students when this process is ready. So I would suggest to keep in touch with the school counselor. But I am also sharing the college Q&A texting number where you can sign up and you will get updates from us as well. Let me see if I see more questions. Let's see, student doesn't have. So one question is if the student doesn't have a social security number, how to create an FSA ID. So if the student doesn't have a social security number, the student should not complete the FAFSA form. So the student should be completing the alternative application for Illinois financial aid. So that's a different form. It's very similar to the FAFSA, but again, if the student doesn't have a social security number, the student should not be completing the FAFSA form. So the other question, if parent is remarried, do you have to report the step parent's income? And the answer is yes. So once the FAFSA is submitted or the paperwork, as the person refers to, how long will it take for you guys to hear what kind of financial aid you're eligible or the student is eligible? So once the FAFSA is submitted, it takes a couple months to notify the student. The notification is not going to come from FAFSA. A lot of parents come and ask me, "Oh, I have not, or I have not received any notification from FAFSA letting our student know when or how much we're getting from financial aid." It's not going to be FAFSA. It's not going to be FSA. The notification the student will be getting is from the colleges or universities that the student listed on the FAFSA, the college or the university that the student is planning to attend. So it is important that when the student completes the FAFSA to include from anywhere from 3 to 5 colleges. This year, this is another change. Previous years, the student can add only 10 colleges at a time, but now it's up to 20 colleges or universities. So those colleges that are listed on the FAFSA will each send a financial aid offer where it will describe what type of financial aid the student is receiving. So, what do I mean by parent who provides the more financial support to the student based on what criteria? So if the parents are divorced or separated, like I said, it has to be reported the parent who provides the most financial support. Usually the custodial parent is the main financial contributor. If there are court documents, sometimes it says who will be the one providing the most financial support to the student. When is the release date for the FAFSA? So we don't have a date yet. So we're hoping to get the FAFSA available in late December, but we don't have a specific date. In the meantime, like I mentioned, students and parents, if the parents have a social security number, they can start creating the FSA ID if you don't have one already. So if parents filed jointly, is there any advantage to me versus wife creating the FSA ID? No, the answer is no. It could be either one of the parents creating the FSA ID. Since the taxes are getting filed together or jointly, the information is attached to the same tax return. So it doesn't matter if it is the mom or the dad creating the FSA ID. Um, are there any changes to reporting for parents that are self-employed or farmers? I heard that there will be questions. So yes, so for these FAFSA, one of the questions is about the parents' assets, and so the business has to be reported on the FAFSA. See if there is another question. So why are they changing the FAFSA process? So in reality, what they're trying to do is to make the application shorter or make it easier for students and families. That's what the intention of changing the application. So I heard this yesterday at an event that I went as well. So the alternative application is an application that is similar to the FAFSA, and a lot of people is referring to it as the alternative FAFSA. I just wanted to mention that the actual name is alternative application, just to get the name correct, because a lot of times families keep asking about this particular alternative FAFSA. But like I said, the real name is just the alternative application. And this is for students who don't have a social security number, but meet specific criteria. And the link is being shared right now. The application, the alternative application for students without a social security number will also be available when the FAFSA is available. So we're trying to get both applications at the same time. Not that there will be changes on this alternative application, but they will both be available at the same time. And that application only allows the student to apply for financial aid through state programs. So the FAFSA allows the student to apply for federal student aid and state aid, whereas the alternative application, it is only for a student to apply for state aid. Um, So if you think your questions needed a more detailed answer, I encourage you to reach out. You can either text us. I will also share my information in the chat. And you can contact me at any time. So I will be sharing my information. So one of the questions, do you have any other resources available for parents of what you need to do during during their senior year? I would say, as a personal experience, help them with the college applications, because the financial aid application is not the only process the students have to go through. And they will need to apply to the colleges that they are thinking about, help them find resources, such as like helping them to write their personal essay, because they're going to need an essay. The other thing is to encourage your students to check their email. This is very hard for our students. They can spend hours and hours in social media, but they forget about their email. And this is a very serious and important thing for them to be checking. Their notifications and everything that needs to be done is shared via email through their counselors or the school. So it is one of the things that you can do in the meantime. I am also sharing an additional resource to help you search for scholarships. Is there any other question? Like I said, this information, if this is the first time that you're hearing this information, it might sound a little complicated. But like I mentioned, I work with parents. I am open to meet with you at a later time and explain how this financial aid works again, and we can go from there. I am available via email, phone call, or even a text message. But please reach out. Know that there are resources available to you and available to your students. So we are getting close to the 30-minute time. If there is any other question, put it in the chat box. Otherwise, contact me anytime. All right. So if there is no more questions, I hope I can continue with this informational videos. Um, you can, log into our YouTube page and see what's available. And we'll see you soon. Thank you. Have a good night.